this audience. It is a sign of the times that I live right next door, but this is the first time that I have actually visited Youhanon University. I hope all of you were attentive to the keynote presentation of Sri Maheshwari, Honorable Justice of the Supreme Court, who set the tone and parameters for this dialogue on conformity and diversity, defining India, and especially for this panel on preserving identity and plurality. I may be allowed to just briefly describe my social location as part of defining my own identity. I was born in Kerala, where most of my neighbors were either from the Nair faith or community or Muslims. It was not uncommon practice in Kerala for the Nair woman, when she took her son or daughter to the temple for the ritual bath, to also call upon the Christian family to send their son or daughter along with her for this dip in the temple pool. It was not considered out of the law. And therefore, very often you would see a Christian boy or girl accompany a Hindu mother with her child coming back from the temple with the mark of the faith on their heads. It was common practice. And this was the pluralistic context, the religious toleration with which I grew up in Kerala. My father was a career naval officer. My friends belonged to every possible faith that you could think of. We played together, we ran together, we did all the mischief together, and there's never an issue about to which faith my friends belong. In this pluralistic environment, where tolerance and acceptance of each other, I grew up forming my identity as an Orthodox Syrian Christian.
सब खड़े होकर बोलेंगे तो इसे बाहर में उठा के
चलो country-wise, but actually addresses or describes the Syriac language which my church used as its liturgical medium. With this as a brief introduction to my social location, may I address a few concerns for our panel on preserving identity and plurality. As with many Asian countries, India is a country where its society is deeply embedded in a religion, and which religion, whether dominant or a subset, has deeply permeated the society's cultural and social tradition, providing the matrix for the formation of an individual's identity. In our country, therefore, there is no separation between state and religion, but an arrangement that permits the symbiotic relationship between religion and society to be publicly exhibited. This is the reason why the Indian Constitution in its preamble states India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic republic, where the term secular does not mean a dichotomy between the state and religion, but embraces the toleration of all religions. This deep religious experience of the people has resulted in an awareness that the revelation of God cannot be confined to cast iron categories, and that no one faith has a monopoly on an experience of God. that thus the Indian pilgrimage to experience the ultimate reality has produced in this country the concept of a toleration and hospitality to all faiths, whether originating in India or introduced to it. The freedom to choose one faith in this pilgrimage is thus enshrined as a fundamental right of each citizen. The conviction that the revelation of God transcends boundaries has resulted not only in a richness within a faith, but also led to an understanding that each faith has much to offer that supplements the particular religion, one that is elicited through mutual interaction and dialogue. It is this religious environment that has produced in India a kaleidoscope of religions and a pluralism that is virtually unique in the world. It is the strong sense that all religions have contributed to the mosaic that is India, so that the absence of any one of these religions results in the defacement of this mosaic we call India. India, therefore, proved to be a haven for all faiths, and in some cases it afforded a hospitality to faiths that were persecuted in other areas. I'm proud to state that India is one of the 2 countries in the world that extended a warm openness to the people of the Jewish faith, where everywhere else, whether in its homeland or in Europe, it was persecuted. And this environment to practice and propagate this faith was one that was extended to all communities by the local rulers and not by religions alone. Today, it has become difficult to sustain the argument that faiths arrived here by conquest. I think one time it was popular to see that. More acceptable is the understanding that several faiths arrived here as an outcome of commercial interaction, such as in Kerala, where Christianity and Islam arrived because of commercial ventures. There have been invasions, surely, associated with religions and the subsequent forced conversions. But the eventual assimilation of such peoples into India have enabled them to supplement the diversity and richness of this country. There can be no doubt then, therefore, that all faiths have interacted with each other, for no religion can be static. Therefore, a development is a necessary feature of all faiths. It embraces the fact of propagation, for that is an intrinsic character of every religion. This is how Buddhism and Hinduism spread to Southeast Asia and to other parts of the world. So, to deprive any faith of the freedom to propagate or conversion would be to deprive it of its essential character. This recognition is the reason why the freedom to freely disseminate one's faith has been included in the Constitution of India, Article 25. There can be no doubt, therefore, that the present form of all religions in this country are the eventual result of the development and conversion. However, in recent times, this harmony in variety at the level of faiths and social practices has been contested and challenged by many factors which are contrary to this established spirit of pluralism and diversity. There are attempts at a uniformity that destroys the beauty of the society in a faith, and to impose an artificial common pattern, in my mind, This is contrary to what has been prevalent in this country and one that leads to the eventual destruction of the harmony that this country has experienced despite the occasional upheavals. Our coming together here as participants in this debate or dialogue is to look at these issues in the spirit of dialogue and engagement that have been the hallmarks of how India has generally approached this topic of pluralism and diversity. It is in this context that each one of us has molded his or her individuality and at the same time understood how pluralism works in one's life and in one's society and in this country. With this brief introduction, may I call upon our first panelist, Padma Shri Sayyida Saidin Hamid, former member of the Planning Commission of India, former Chancellor of Maulana Azad National Urdu University, to present us with a learned presentation.